Hi everyone, it's Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer, and today we have a really incredibly wonderful topic to talk about: how to accept change gracefully. Now, I had never really thought much about change before. It was just something that we kind of have to move through our lives and it will come as it's supposed to. But then I was prompted to write this, and I realized how many ways we may be resisting that change and making it much more difficult to move our lives forward in a much more pleasing way, for lack of a better word. We try so hard sometimes to keep things the same or to force them to change when they shouldn't if we're unhappy or if we haven't finished learning whatever it was that we needed to learn from whatever we were going through, that we forget that we can just relax, partner with the divine, and live our lives with a whole lot less effort. And by effort, that doesn't mean that you won't have to apply yourself, that you can just sit around and eat bonbons all day. First of all, that's boring. Secondly, that's not what I mean. I mean, when you are appearing, your life feels like you're pushing a boulder up the hill, that's when you need divine assistance, when everything seems to be against you. You're still, even when you are partnering fully with the divine, you are still going to want to do your part, and you'll actually be more inspired than you would otherwise, because you'll feel that motivation and you'll be able to set fear aside and use it as your motivator as opposed to your immobilizer. So when you're in step with the divine, when you're partnering fully and divinely open to that big channel, you'll get even more motivated and want to do even more. So that's when I say it's going to be effortless. It just won't feel so heavy. But you will be learning, you will be exploring, you will be examining your life from all different angles and really opening up to truth in a way that you weren't able to before. And it will feel effortless because it's so much more fun than doing it the other way. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look at what our guides have to say about how to accept change gracefully. I kind of love the fact that they said we had to accept it, not that how to change gracefully. They are already, hey, it's going to happen. You might as well accept it. So they begin. Dear ones, change is inevitable. Nothing stays the same, and yet so many of you, when you're in a place of high energy and good fortune, try desperately to cling to what you have. You bargain with time. You try to bribe fate. And then you most ungraciously give into the change that is happening. Conversely, when things are going sour and your energetic offering is negative, all of you beg for change, but few of you want to do something positive to make the desired change happen. Today, we want to remind you that neither of these states is either optimal or beneficial, because both of them represents you in a state of resistance to what is. Graceful change happens when you allow yourself to flow, stepping out of resistance and into the seamless ebb and flow of life that is constantly changing. For those of you who fear change, either because you've achieved a level of comfort or familiarity, or because you've experienced change as the harbinger of bad fortune in the past, we must remind you that if you had not participated in the change of growth that had occurred over your lifetime, you would still be a babe in diapers, content to sit in your own urine and feces. Now we must ask you, if you refuse to accept life with grace and grow with the changes life has to offer, are you not still sitting in soiled diapers? The only difference is that by refusing to change, your dirty diaper is now represented by your own negative thoughts and your low vibrational resonance. Would you not prefer to present your best self to the world, to live your purpose, and to feel fulfilled? And I just want to take a moment to look at that and realize how much negativity, negative thought, unforgiveness, any kind of anger or hatred or prejudice, we must realize the damage that it's doing. We may want to tell ourselves that holding on to this anger, this hatred, this prejudice, this whatever, is getting back at another person. But that is so foolish. Let's use an example that is so clear, and I don't know where I read this. I think Buddha may have given this example, but it is so clear that you can't help but see anger and negativity and unforgiveness for what they are, which is pure poison. But when you hold on to your anger, your negativity, your unforgiveness, remember, these are all emotions that are being generated by you. That means they must first attack your energetic system. They cannot pass from you without passing through you. So when you're holding on to all of this, you're first attacking your own energetic vibration. And so we must understand it's like holding on to a hot coal and hoping that you won't get burned. That's how serious it is to hold on to anger, to hurt, unforgiveness, prejudice, any of these emotions that we feel we're holding so that we can hurt someone else. You will be hurt first. Okay, let's continue. And remember, they said, would you not prefer to present your best self to the world, to live your purpose and to feel fulfilled? To do that, you must change. You must participate fully in life instead of offering excuses and reasons why it's just too difficult for you. So therefore, we must look at and then advise you how you can participate in changing gracefully, not just as you age, but as you encounter each of life's challenges. So, we need to understand that this is not limited to the aging process. This is any time you're asked to become something new. The first thing you must do is to stop resisting. When you encounter something new that's asking you to be either more or less than you were previously, do not immediately offer up an excuse. Now, I know I've been guilty of that in the past. When I was being asked to do something I didn't feel qualified to do, or to do more than I was currently doing, my first reaction was generally an excuse. Why I wasn't going to be able to do it. Not good enough, whatever. Stop allowing your first response to be why you cannot do something. Instead, begin asking yourself how. How can I rise to this challenge, this change, and do it gracefully so I receive maximum benefit? Right there, we need to remember. If you're fighting, if you're in resistance, if you are dragging your heels, you are not receiving maximum benefit of this change, and you're making it much harder on yourself. One of the ways you make change negative is to assign fear to it. You engage in thinking such thoughts as, I've never done this before, therefore I don't know if I'm capable, if I'll like it, or if I will be well accepted. Oh, notice none of these had any surety. They were just kind of tossed out there, I don't knows. Instead of flowing within the loving arms of the divine into the next opportunity for you to become more, you actively resist and cut yourself off from divine guidance by placing yourself at odds with what's coming. From your place of rigidity, you then complain about the upcoming events and prepare to be disappointed, to not being able to compete or to feeling less than able to feel safe and secure in this new place in which you've arrived. So not only do we not want to change, but we offer up all these excuses why we shouldn't, instead of just opening to the divine and saying, I already understand everything is working together for my highest good. So even though I may not be able to understand it completely at this time, I'm going to allow it to move forward, as I know there's good in every situation and everything is always working out for my highest good. I want you to be careful with that, though, because if you have spent your entire life saying, my life always goes badly, I can't trust God, I don't believe in God, the divine source, whatever, I know God is out to hurt me, and then you turn it around saying, oh, I trust that everything is working out for my highest good, you're on the way, but you've got so much garbage between you and your highest good, you need to get into the heart space and do a little house cleaning. You need to get rid of those negative limiting beliefs because they're going to get in your way. They're not going to allow you to believe that everything works out, and they're going to begin artificially manufacturing ways in which life doesn't work out so that you can be right. You're going to match your limiting belief if you've done nothing to clear it. If that's your predominant belief, you're going to match it. We ask why. Why are you making everything so difficult? You know that change is inevitable, so why do you fight against it and cling so tightly to the old routine that's no longer serving your highest good? Rather than pester you with redundant questions, we shall answer for you because you're afraid you won't measure up. There it is, right there. Somewhere we are saying, I'm afraid I'm not good enough when change comes. Or there's shame. If you are going into reduced circumstances, there could be shame. Therefore, we address the second aspect of graceful change. Relax and know that everything happens as it should in accordance with your highest good. Even those of you who are bound up in negativity are creating change that's for your highest good. Because everything you experience, whether it feels good or feels bad, is propelling you forward to the place that's best for you. If you're tightly bound to the negative and encounter negative continuously, it will act as your catalyst to change. Your circumstance will become so oppressive that instead of being resistant, you will eagerly embrace change. If, on the other hand, you're encountering pleasant circumstances that you have no wish to change, you're either flowing and changing to meet challenges without resistance, or you've raised your vibration sufficiently so that the change you experience feels good and may go unnoticed. Now, I love the idea of being able to change so beautifully that it's just like going from one masterpiece to the next instead of going through periods of doubt and fear. Now, I personally am not there yet. I still have periods of doubt, periods when I just don't feel like I'm getting it right. But I'm excited to become even bigger and get to the place where I will change without the doubt, without the uncertainty, However, if you're clinging to the good, afraid that it might change or something unwanted, then you've placed yourself in resistance or in opposition to change, and you will then encounter unpleasantness. This is so big. If we think we have everything in the world we could possibly desire, and we're holding on tight because we are concerned that something's going to come and take it away, you are brittle. And something will happen. Brittle gets broken. You need to flow. What I have right now is fabulous. What I am entering into will be just as fabulous or even more so. That's how you can flow. In this instance, you've placed yourself above the divine and have decreed that you know what's best for your life, and trusting that everything works out for your highest good will only prove you to be a fool. This is so powerful. The ego will tell you absolutely any foolish nonsense. And when it's in control and you haven't done the work to clear out the negativity and allow the ego to understand that you are a spiritual being, not a physical being searching for the spiritual, but you're putting your spirituality first. The ego is going to believe that everyone and everything is out to get it. It has a limited lifespan. It knows it, and it goes into the paranoia. So when you are being told things like, oh, trusting that everything works out for you is a fool, only a fool would do that. You know you're in touch with the ego. Because let's look at that. We know law of attraction will bring you what you focus on. If you focus on everything that's good, if you focus on the fact that things are always working out for you, of course they will. So that's when you know ego's in there just trying to muck things up, get you off the path, and confuse you. And that's when you gently say, no, I understand that there's a fear over here that's unresolved. I understand that I'm still learning and growing, and sometimes I may have some doubt or uncertainty. But I also know that where I put my attention, what I give my energy to, what I begin thinking about for the majority of the time, that is going to result in what I will experience in my life. Now, moving on. Lastly, we present another way to embrace change. Now that you've learned to relax and trust that everything is working out for your highest good, we want you to actively participate in the process of change. Since we already established that change is inevitable and that fighting against it will not bring you your desired result, we want you to become more than pawns. And I like being an active participant in my life. I didn't like the time in my life when I felt like I was just kind of being tossed around. I couldn't depend on anyone or anything, and life was just handing me up one bad circumstance after another. I never felt powerful during that time, and it didn't feel good. So I love the idea of being an active participant. It's time to stop seeing yourselves as corks tossing about in the ocean of life and recognize your power. All of you are aware that you're powerful creators who create with your thoughts, emotions, and energetic signature. But you must not limit yourselves to your singular mind or individual feelings. Instead, we desire that you seek fullness by partnering with the divine to actively pursue that growth or change that is best for you. Notice that's best for you. If it's not best for your partner or the rest of your family or your neighbor, that's okay. Do what is best for you as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. If you go into this with the intention, let me show them or I'm going to get them, you're not doing what's best for you anyway. But you're entering with a hurt. You're intending to hurt, and it's just going to backfire on you. So begin with a pure intention, but of course the intention is, I want whatever is for my highest good and for the highest good of everyone that's involved if you're in a family. Instead of pretending that things will never change and being surprised when they do, run into the challenge by gracefully asking the divine to lead you toward your greatest growth opportunities. You should continue to state your desires clearly and specifically. You should continue to fuel your dreams by focusing upon them and getting excited about what you're creating. And you should continue to be grateful for all that you have and all that is yet to come. But we ask that you don't stop there or rely on your own limited perspective. Instead, we want you to reach higher by going deeper. Go deeper into the space of the heart and connect more fully with the divine. In this space of restoration, in this time of quiet, open yourselves fully to the inspiration and guidance that's pouring forth. Allow it to wash over you, to enfold you in its loving arms, and allow yourself to become one with all that is. When you take the time to actively pursue your partnership with the divine, you will expand in new and wondrous ways. That which you thought impossible or beyond your capability, if it is meant for you, will become easy and flow seamlessly into your being and your life. You will rise to every occasion as you continuously change with graceful evolution, and you will find that you're eager to expand into every possibility, for you are not alone. You aren't restricted to your own thoughts or physical limitations, for you are indeed limitless and capable of profound greatness. Now, just for a minute, I want to say something very quickly about if it's meant for you, it will be easy. Do not confuse learning how to do something and having to put effort into the learning with this isn't meant for me. There will always be effort required. However, if it's meant for you, you will have a natural affinity with the thing. Doesn't mean that you don't have to learn how to do it. You're still going to have to study and to enhance and to process and to make what you have even bigger. But it will be easier for you if it is meant for you. If that's not your thing, then you could spend a lot of time studying and it may never really make sense to you. It's okay to say, you know what, this just doesn't do it for me, and move on. As long as you're not giving up without trying. I just want you to get in there, give it your best effort, knowing that whether it is a divine gift or not, you're still going to put some effort in. So we've all brought a gift to share. We're all good at something. We all have a special talent in some area, a unique skill, but none of us came with it fully developed. It still requires study and practice. So just to sum it up, we want to relax into the process of growth and change. Trust that everything is working together for your highest good, and remember to convene with the divine through the energy of your heart so that you will experience a life of grace and unlimited possibilities. There is no better way to really get a hold of who you are and who the divine is and how you can work together, then the heart. You've got to get into the heart and do the work from the heart. Now, I'd love to hear your questions and concerns, but I just want to briefly review what they shared with us so we all know moving forward how we can get the most out of change and cause ourselves the least amount of harm. Got to remember that change is inevitable, and we've got to become open to change instead of rigid or resistant. And when they showed me that picture just a minute ago of brittle always breaks. Maybe instead of saying rigid, we should think of ourselves as brittle when we are not flowing gracefully with change, when we are not like the dancer that's flowing with the music, but rather we're brittle and the sun hits us. Let's pretend we're a brittle block of ice and the sun hits it and wow, suddenly you're cracking as you begin to melt. So let's do this easily, the easy way. We can examine if we're in resistance to change by what I was calling our rigidity factor. I'm thinking, though, I want to change its name, but for now, the rigidity factor. And here are a couple of ways you can check that out. Are we begging for things to stay the same because they're going so well and we fear the change? If so, then you're not really in tune with your life. If you're needing things to stay the same because you're afraid you can't replace that, then you're missing out. You're not flowing. You're holding yourself bound and restricted. Or are we begging for change because things are going so badly that anything would be better? Again, this is not really flowing with change. This is just, I'll take anything. And we know when we get that kind of mindset, we can cause ourselves a bunch of problems. It's sort of out of the frying pan into the fire mentality when we jump without thinking. So we need to be prepared and get our minds ready for what we do want. Because either way, we're not looking with clear eyes at the energetic offering that we're putting out, and that's where we get ourselves into trouble. We've got to realize that we can say one thing, chatter, 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 and it means nothing if the energetic vibration behind it is, don't believe anything I say, this is how I'm really feeling, but I'm doing a lot of talking or chattering to convince myself otherwise. So oftentimes you may meet people who look almost, again, that word, brittle in their happiness. They're so falsely joyful because they're trying to cover up a deep sadness. But what they're really broadcasting is the deep sadness. That chatter doesn't fool many people for long. I don't know if it even fools anybody. So we've got to remember that positive change can only occur when we've done the inner work, the heart work to welcome and incorporate that high vibrational signature that we want. One in which we actively search for and welcome that state of love, joy, and peace, where we've done what's necessary to eliminate or at least understand fear. There's always going to be an element of fear, but we can work with it as a motivator. We can see what's happening and say, yeah, okay, I'm not afraid because this feels detrimental to me. It may feel bigger than me, and I may not feel that I'm able to become big enough to accept this challenge, but I'm going to let it motivate me and allow me to become more. We don't want fear to shut us down, to immobilize us and keep us stuck. And we've also got to remember that we're changing gracefully when we are present in this moment and making choices about what is and not the what if. This is where we get into so much trouble. And believe me, I still catch myself doing this and have to back up. We'd love to get out ahead or go back into the past instead of just saying, right here, what do I have right here? What is great about this moment? And how can I expand upon it to bring more joy, more love, more peace? How can I make this moment the best moment ever instead of jumping out ahead into the what ifs? And often the what ifs that we are going on about are very unpleasant. So why we would want to spend our time reviewing extremely unpleasant circumstances, I don't know, but I used to catch myself doing that often. So we've got to stop offering excuses about why change would be too difficult. When change equals difficult, then we're in an antagonistic relationship with change. And since we get what we think about, then we get that thing that we feared, the difficulty, the not being good enough. So it is so important that we accept change not just as we age. I used to think, really, before channeling this blog post, I used to think of change being something very age appropriate. And now I realize it's throughout your life. If you get this one thing right, you will make life so much easier for yourself. You will have so much flow in your life if you just be that divine partner. Get out of the resistance. Get into the flow. Be a partner with the divine. Actively seek this partnership and know that everything is working out for your highest good. So on our to-do list for today, stop resisting. I wanted to, though, point out one thing. They said, well, when sometimes we fear change or we get upset about change, when we're going to become more or we're going to become less. I have some stories about that I'm going to share with you in just a few minutes, but I want to make sure that you understand when they're saying becoming more, when perhaps they're saying, okay, you get to step into this exciting new role and you don't feel worthy and you haven't done your heart work, so you're really balking at this. And you can be balking for all sorts of different reasons, but just not feeling good enough is certainly a legitimate reason. Not a truthful reason, but it's a legitimate reason. But what about if you're asked to become less, if you're asked to take a financial step back? Well, a lot of people may not want to do that. They may want to say, but I am my social standing. I am the money that I had in the bank that's no longer there anymore. I am the big house I used to live in, or the person that I used to be married to who was well connected socially. But if you're being asked to take a step back, it may just be a chance to regroup and to find out who you really are. Who are you as opposed to what do all these things say about you? Had you gotten yourself into a place where you were no longer representing your authentic self and you were instead trying to live up to this societal norm that doesn't fit you. When they're asking you to expand, go forward confidently knowing that you're ready. You won't be given the opportunity unless you're ready. And don't get out in front with the, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Just begin from where you are and do what you can in your present moment. And conversely, when you are asked to take a step back, perhaps it's financial, perhaps it's even social, it's not failure. You did not fail. You're merely looking at a different way of being. So, what was your old position? What was it preventing you from doing or being or growing into? And who do you want to be as your authentic self, or who is your authentic self that you now want to present to the world, now that you don't have this extraneous baggage of the more physical things? Or even, let's say, it becomes a physical illness and you are asked to go from physical health to an illness. And you might say, well, that doesn't feel good. No, but there are incredible stories of people who did experience a physical illness and became so much bigger because of it. They had the time, and I don't recommend that we all get sick in order to do this, but they had the time to really connect deeply with themselves and find the gift within the illness. Now, there are many ways that we can find the gift. We do not have to get ill in order to do that. You don't have to give up all of the money or the big house or the whatever it is. Those are not necessary. But if it happens, don't fight it. Look for the gift within it. Also, remember, we have to relax. And the way we can do this most easily is, because we're going to go into every experience certain that it's for our highest good, we can relax into what's happening and allow the good to come forward. When you're rigid, when you're brittle, you can't relax. You can't possibly believe that something is happening for your highest good unless it feels really good, and sometimes change in the beginning doesn't feel great. It can be aggravating. So flow allows the divine to orchestrate the events on our behalf. Instead of choosing to be the conductor of your own life and you telling each part of your life when it gets to play and when it needs to quiet down and when it needs to get louder, let's pass the baton to the divine and just say, here you go. I am so delighted to have this help and to partner with you fully, not because I'm too dumb, please don't go there, because I am so brilliant that I realize the divine can see the bigger picture, and I can only see the trees in my forest. And if I want to live a life that is completely over the top, then I need to let go of my individual trees and my little forest and attach to the broader vision that will allow me to be the fullness of the gift that I brought to share. Now, you don't always have to do that. It's totally up to you. You get to choose. Even after you've handed the baton off to the divine, you still get to choose what you participate in and what you don't. The only thing that it guarantees is that you will have a broader perspective. And in my opinion, when you see more, you're able to make wiser choices. So remember, the last suggestion that they gave us was that we need to partner with the divine actively. We need to actively seek that change instead of trying to hide from it. Let's run right in. Once you've done the deep work and the heart work to clear the limiting beliefs, and then you begin seeking your fullness by inviting the divine to be there with you and inspire you and show you all that you really are, you will want to run into, what can I do next? How can I be more? What else do I have to offer? Because you will be recognizing who you really are, which is a magnificent being, from the smallest to the tallest, the youngest to the oldest. Each one of us is magnificent, unique, and has something incredible to share. So, get excited about change. Now, does anybody have any questions, or should I go on or any stories that you want to tell? I do have a couple of stories to tell, but I would love to hear from you instead. There are quite a few of you on the call today, so if anybody wants to be a storyteller, *2 is the way to raise your hand. Okay, Valerie. Hi there.
Hi, Marcia. I'm on mute.
No, you're good.
Oh, am I? Okay.
Yep.
I've got a question about people around you.
Okay.
Right. So I have a beautiful friend. She has an amazing spirit, and she's probably the most negative human I've ever met. And it really, I mean, she will drop everything in her life for her friends. But when it comes to herself, she doesn't, Marcia, it's almost like she doesn't want to see good in her life, and she doesn't want to heal. And I've had a really big struggle. If she falls away during my journey, she falls away, and there's nothing I can do about that. But I really struggle on a daily basis in how to open up the world to her and open up her eyes and help her see that the world is at her feet, and she can have anything she desires, but she continues to focus on the negative. So how do you deal with people like that?
You got two choices. First of all, you want to concentrate on your own life and make your own life so incredibly fabulous that she'll look at you and just say, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I want. This is everything. This is, how did you do it? So you just continue making your life incredibly, wonderfully fabulous and over the top. Every time you see her, oh, I'm so excited because I'm learning this, or I've really discovered that. And, if you have to go a little farther than you think you might, a little more into the exaggeration, a little more over the top with enthusiasm, go ahead, just so that she gets the feel that her life, or that, and I hate to use the word jealous, but in a way, it's kind of what we want to achieve.
How about we say envious?
Yeah, we want her just to feel like, oh gosh, I wish I could have that too. Because that's the beginning to be able to share with her, you can. No one is excluded from a life of love, joy, and peace. You just have to choose it. So in the beginning, we might have to go a little over the top, talking about how fabulous our life is, hoping, and also being like a silent witness too, so that you make sure that your energetic vibration is really high anytime you spend any time with her. You might want to get yourself, set an intention before, if you know you're going to be talking to her,
Mm-hmm.
set an intention, do a quick, maybe 5-minute meditation so that you're just on fire in that place of love, joy, and peace. Because the more successful she sees you, the more motivation she will have to go in that direction herself. The other thing is to start dropping little hints if she's open to it. Sometimes this can backfire, so we got to be really careful with this. And watch. If you find that she feels comfortable when you're talking about law of attraction, 5D reality, ascension shift, consciousness awakening, if those don't throw her off, then you can keep sharing as long as she's willing to listen. But sometimes people who are just beginning or still in that resistant phase feel like we're preaching at them or picking at them or not bullying, but trying to show off. You know, you get so excited, you just want to talk about it. Oh, the angels. And they're like, oh, you're just kind of showing off because I don't have that.
I think that's the place that she's in right now. And yet she has so many wonderful new things happening in her life, and she turns them around and sees the negative to the point where I bang my head against the wall.
Wow.
I give. I surrender.
Okay, well, here's one more thing we can do. First of all, you've got to be the shining light so that she finally comes to you and says, Valerie, what are you doing? Why is your life so much better than mine? You know, why is it that things are consistently working out for you and my life's just a mess? So you just be your biggest, brightest, shining light, and don't try to dim it when you're around here to make her feel better. I used to try to do that.
Right.
Oh, I'll just tone it down when I'm around person X and Y, and they'll feel better. Nothing's going to make them feel better because they don't want to. So no sense doing that. But here's the other thing that we can offer her in the hopes that she'll be a little less brittle, a little less resistant. And that's just wrap her in a blanket of pink and gold light. It is the energy of unconditional love. So you're just saying you're loved the way you are, and you don't have to change because you're already loved. And wrap her in that at least 3 different times without saying a word. It's just something that we do energetically. No correction. We're not going to make any correction or make any suggestion. Just wrap her up in that. You're loved. You're loved. You're loved. Or you can even say you're loved unconditionally, because I have a feeling she attaches conditions to love and has been hurt badly because of that. So
Absolutely.
We want to make sure it's unconditional love. And then we just let it work itself into her energetic field. Whenever you think of her, put more blankets on her. Whenever you're going to spend time with her, put more blankets on her and allow it to happen in her time.
Thank you for that. That's beautiful. That helps.
And as always, we can do some deep heart work with her, you know, bringing her into your circle and just sharing love with her. But the blanket is the easiest. We can do it all the time. And sometimes I get a little concerned if we're spending too much time on another person and they're resistant, because that time needs to be spent on you, on ourselves. You know, we as empaths and light workers and healers want to run out and heal everyone else. But I'm learning to take a step back. That was a big change for me. Take that step back and go where I am prompted or invited, and trust that if someone needs the help, I or someone else will be there when they're ready, and my forcing them to be ready won't help anything.
Well, sometimes I think that is her role in my life right now, is to teach me to step back, because I've always been that person who needs to heal everybody and needs to make everybody okay. So I've definitely thought about that before.
I hear that one.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the only thing that we can do, because she's got free will, so there's no way that we can make her into something she doesn't want to be, thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Or else we'd all be God knows what. So we're just going to love her and ask God for more guidance. Is this an opportunity, God, where I am being asked to step back? Or is this are you asking me to go deeper still and really begin sharing what I understand with her because she's ready and I just am not reading the signs? This is when we have to ask the divine.
Yeah, and she is so damn lovable. And she's such a beautiful person inside and out. And, you know, if she, I don't know how to help her see it. And I thank you. I will definitely meditate on that and see what kind of answers come to me. And I am going to see her this afternoon.
Okay,
so,
okay. When you see her, will she receive? You're such a beautiful person inside and out. Will she receive that?
She tries to, because I try to tell her on a regular basis.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
half
huge.
Half the time she says, "Oh, shut up."
Okay.
But she's coming off a bit of a whirlwind trip with a new gentleman in her life who just thinks the world of her. So I think today, of all days, she will absolutely be open to that.
Well, and what I receive from her more than anything is fear. She is scared out of her mind that what she's found isn't going to last because it really feels good. And so she's so, like holding herself almost bored stiff, trying not to let any of this good stuff get away from her. So let's just cover her in blankets of pink and gold light so that she can relax a little bit and hope that she can open up a little bit to hear, wow, this is so amazing. I'm so delighted this is working out for you. I'm so whatever. You really deserve this. I'm at a loss for words. She's a tough cookie. Whoa.
She is, and that what you just said, holy cow, just brought me to tears and resonated so deeply, because that's exactly how she feels. She feels she's not worthy, and she's more worthy than almost anyone I know.
Because she's a beautiful healer. But here's the problem. Before you understand or accept that you are, you go through that deep period of I'm trash, garbage, and completely undeserving and unworthy of anything that, any good that might want to come my way, I must give it away immediately. That's just because as a child, like most of us, something went on where that program got stuck, that button got pushed, and there was that belief that you are really not worthy unless you're doing something. This was my tape. Unless you're doing something good for someone else, you have no value and no reason to be on this planet.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know a light worker who doesn't have some version of that running in the background.
Yeah.
Where it came from for her, from her parents. Okay. Well, we've got to help her get over that hump. And one of the easiest, kindest ways to do it is just bombard her with love. Unconditional love, pink and gold blankets, so it doesn't feel like an onslaught and she doesn't feel like she's being judged because she isn't able to get her mind around these concepts yet. Just love her. Just keep loving her and keep asking God for direction. If you can be her teacher, if you can be the one that helps her open up, you will have given the world an incredible gift. But you will not fail if she chooses not to open up, because remember, she has free will. So just by being willing to try, you've created for yourself an incredible vibrational lift. By not giving up, by not running away, by not saying it's too hard, you've really pushed yourself up into a high vibration by agreeing to this task. Now, what we don't get is to decide whether the other person jumps on board with us. So that's kind of where you are right now, which is you've been given this incredible assignment and she has to decide whether she wants to be a good student or whether she wants to be, lazy is not the right word, a resistant student, because she just can't grapple with the fact that she has enough value for you to spend this much time and energy on her.
Thank you.
So, but you've already done what you needed to do just by being that beautiful light in her life. You've already opened the door. So if it feels good to continue to being that sunshine, and I think it does because she's certainly such a lovely person, then do it. But if you feel that it's draining you, if it's taking you away from being your, staying in your high vibration, take a step back and just put the blanket on her and let her come to you. And she will when she's ready. Oh, and somehow your line got muted again, and I didn't touch anything. This is my life with the computer.
Am I back?
You are back.
Oh.
Okay.
Thank you, Marcia.
And I want to. Absolutely. I want to share a story. Somebody very close to me is in their first year of college, all excited, all happy, just ready to go all in and change everything. Well, now 3/4 of the way through the year, I'm hearing sadness and a little disappointment and just kind of blah. And we had this long conversation, and this was even before I was focused on change. And I realized she was telling me that she is basically trying to be someone that she's not so that she can fit in or get the grades that these other people are getting or have the same drive that they have. And after a really long conversation, we realized, hey, in this particular instance, change is not serving you because you're forcing it. You're forcing yourself to be in a mold, be something that you're not, in order to fit in with other people. So in this particular case, this person took change and kind of made it into a bully. I've got to be this other thing if I'm going to be successful. And so what we realized is she said, well, my gosh, I just want to be my old self. I said, no, you can't. We can never go back to being exactly the way we were because you've matured. Things have happened that will be beneficial for you. So take all of the good. Take all that you've gained. But don't try to be an imitation of someone else that's not you. Just let go of that stuff that doesn't feel good to you and hang on to the aspects of you that feel good, that are a little more mature than you would have been several months ago. And that seemed to feel better to her because she said, I'm not an anxious person, but I've given myself anxiety. She was trying to force herself to be something she could never be because she felt that was what was necessary in order to fit in. And that's an example of when we've taken change and not gotten a divine direction, but just kind of gave ourselves any direction. So she got back into the flow and decided that she could change gracefully and grow where she was without having to force herself and make herself feel really disappointed with who she was. All right, everybody. That's it for today. I thank you so much for sharing. Remember, these replays go up on YouTube, MarciaMartinTheHeartHealer.com on YouTube. I am so appreciative of all of you coming and sharing. Valerie, thank you so much for sharing. That was such a great example of how we have to take the lead as light workers, but not shove it down anyone's throat. So we need to remember that we're all on a journey and we all have free will. So even though we can desire something greatly, we don't necessarily, it doesn't mean that it has to come about if the other person says, no, that just doesn't feel right to me. That's okay. Even if the other person doesn't want to participate in the way that you do, things will still work out for your highest good, but they may not involve that particular individual. And that's what Valerie was saying when she said, well, as I grow, if I have to leave this individual behind, then I'm okay with it. It hurts, but we recognize sometimes we have to leave people behind. We leave them behind with open doors, however. Whenever they decide that they want to get going on their own journey and they want to join us in the positive and in the inspirational and the uplifting, they are more than welcome. So it's not a door that's closed and bolted with all of the locks turned. It is a door that stands open slightly because we expect them to let go of the negative, let go of the Debbie Downer, let go of the hurt and shame and blame, and join us in our high place. All right, everybody. I will talk with you next Wednesday, but until then, I'm sending you my love. Thanks so much.